Today, we continue our exploration of Elizabeth Abbott's groundbreaking work, A History of Marriage. Abbott is a renowned Canadian historian whose research offers fascinating insights into how marriage has evolved throughout human history. In our previous video, we discussed marriage's origins as a patriarchal institution designed to give men exclusive control over women to ensure reliable bloodline inheritance. But now that we've achieved greater gender equality and women have gained unprecedented freedoms, what's happening to marriage itself? Is this ancient institution sustainable in the modern world? Let's dive into this fascinating question. In 2007, U.S. Census data revealed something remarkable. Less than half of American adults were either married or cohabiting. Marriage had become a minority choice in American society. This wasn't just happening in America. In European countries with more robust social safety nets, this milestone was reached even earlier, back in the 1990s. This dramatic shift has led many sociologists to question whether we're witnessing the collapse of marriage as a social institution. The numbers are certainly striking. Marriage rates continue their steady decline across Western societies, with no signs of reversing. How did we reach this point? The first major factor is the complete separation of sex from marriage. Historically, men who remained unmarried had severely limited sexual opportunities. Today, this relationship has completely reversed. The majority of sexual activity now occurs before and outside of marriage. Even among married couples, sexual frequency has declined significantly. This led the pioneering psychologist Carl Jung, one of the founders of analytical psychology alongside Freud, to make his famous quip that the main advantage of marriage is that it makes the excitement of adultery possible. While Jung's statement was tongue-in-cheek, it highlights how dramatically our relationship with marital sexuality has changed. What caused this separation of sex from marriage? The oral contraceptive pill played a revolutionary role. Unlike barrier methods like condoms, the pill offered two game-changing advantages. It was completely controlled by women, requiring neither the knowledge nor consent of male partners, and could be used after sexual activity occurred, providing a backup option for unplanned encounters. When the first oral contraceptive became widely available in 1960, it quickly sparked the sexual revolution. This was a mere coincidence. Technology had fundamentally altered the relationship between sex and reproduction. The second transformation followed naturally from the first. Once sex became disconnected from marriage, childbearing inevitably did as well. If marriage essentially exists to maintain property inheritance through blood relationships, modern DNA testing makes marriage technically unnecessary for this purpose. When a child is born outside a relationship today, a simple genetic test can identify the biological father and establish child support obligations. This technological solution has made traditional marriage far less necessary for establishing paternity. This plays out practically in many American states, where governments provide support to single mothers while requiring them to identify the father so child support can be collected. Yet remarkably, 1/3 of single mothers voluntarily forego these financial benefits rather than identify the father, sometimes not even informing the man himself of the child's existence. These women, known as single mothers by choice or SMBCs, prefer financial hardship to sharing parenthood with men they don't wish to co-parent with. Their choices echo the words of Simone de Beauvoir, the influential French feminist philosopher who advised young women decades ago. Have children if you wish, but never marry. Marriage is a trap. Today's SMBCs appear to have embraced half of her advice. Two major factors have accelerated the separation of childbearing from marriage. First, DNA technology ensures that whenever a woman chooses, she can identify a child's biological father with near-perfect accuracy, making him legally responsible for support regardless of marital status. Second, modern governments have largely transformed from what sociologists call public husbands to public fathers, meaning the state now provides direct financial support to children rather than expecting male breadwinners to support families. This profound shift has significantly reduced women's financial incentives to marry. The consequences are striking. Unlike in China, where pregnancy during cohabitation typically leads to marriage, British research shows that when cohabiting women become pregnant, their likelihood of marrying actually decreases by 14%. How profound is the separation between childbearing and marriage? In developed European nations, Over half of all children are now born to unmarried parents. In America over the past decade, out-of-wedlock births have grown at twice the rate of births within marriage. At this pace, children born within marriage will soon become a minority in America, following the European pattern. While fewer people marry, the definition of marriage itself continues to expand. In 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled state bans on same-sex marriage unconstitutional, allowing two men or two women to legally wed. This landmark decision represented a fundamental redefinition of an institution previously defined by gender complementarity. Once marriage's definition began expanding, logical questions followed. If gender no longer defines marriage, what about number? If two men or two women can marry, why not three, four, or more people in various configurations? Popular culture has already normalized these conversations. Shows like Desperate Housewives have featured polyamorous relationships, bringing previously taboo concepts into mainstream American living rooms. History suggests that once something appears in mainstream media, formal recognition often follows. In Canada, legal recognition of polyamorous marriages, whether one man with multiple wives, one woman with multiple husbands, or other configurations, appears increasingly likely in coming years. Another significant trend Abbott highlights is the explosion of blended families, where at least one spouse brings children from previous relationships into a new marriage. These families have become the new normal in America, with traditional nuclear families, where all children are biologically related to both parents, now representing just 25% of American households. Research reveals fascinating patterns within these dynamics. American studies show mothers with 3 sons are 10 percentage points more likely to remarry than mothers with 3 daughters. While social factors contribute, mothers of boys naturally interact with male coaches and activity leaders, while mothers of girls more frequently encounter female teachers. The statistical gap likely also reflects heightened caution among mothers of daughters when introducing new men into their homes. The prominent British evolutionary biologist Robin Baker proposed a provocative solution to these modern complications in his book, Sex in the Future. Baker suggested all men should deposit sperm in medical facilities and then undergo vasectomies, completely separating sex from reproduction. If they later marry and want biological children, they could use their bank sperm with donor eggs and surrogates. Women wanting children could similarly use donor sperm. This arrangement would mean children in blended families would be biologically related to either the father or the mother, but never both, theoretically avoiding certain kinds of family tensions. Baker summarized his proposal with the striking phrase, "Have sex with people you know, have children with people you don't." While Baker's proposal has a certain theoretical elegance, its practical challenges are enormous. Surrogate pregnancies remain prohibitively expensive for most people. More fundamentally, it's unclear how a child conceived via surrogate would face fewer step-parent issues than a child from a previous relationship. The core psychological and social dynamics would likely remain unchanged. We've now completed our journey through Elizabeth Abbott's fascinating A History of Marriage, and what a journey it's been. Looking back across marriage's long evolution, our generation faces unprecedented complexity in our intimate relationships. According to historians like Abbott, the institution of marriage appears to be collapsing under the weight of technological and social change. We now have more freedom and choices than any previous generation, perhaps too many, leading to a certain disorientation about how to structure our intimate lives. Historically, despite marriage's inequalities and often oppressive nature, the economic realities and division of household labor made spousal cooperation virtually essential for survival and child-rearing. But today, nearly every domestic task can be outsourced: cooking, cleaning, childcare, even pet care. Meanwhile, the two things once exclusive to marriage, sex and children, are now readily available outside its boundaries. We might be passengers on an enormous train whose engine died long ago, coasting forward purely on momentum. None of us knows where or when this train will finally stop. But perhaps most tellingly, many of us have stopped asking the question altogether. What are your thoughts on the future of marriage? Share your perspectives in the comment below.